Today I'm going to really address history and how we've gotten where we've gotten within the supplement industry, and a little bit of why we're here and where we're going, and then others will take that one step further and enunciate a little bit more on that. So when we look at the supplement industry, 25 years ago, DSHEA was passed, and it seems like we've come a long way in many respects, and yet in other respects, it seems like we're still at ground zero from compliance standpoint. The sports supplement industry is experienced incredibly steady growth, and we expect it to continue to do so at a rate of about 8.9% a year. And so we can see the projections growing out worldwide in a few years to almost 80 or just over $80 billion. And I don't expect that's going to slow down much. We're fortunate that the supplement industry has been one that has not had too much of a hiccup despite the pandemic. But in the past, as Chris noted, there's some real white labels out there, but we also can act as a scapegoat. I don't think I've ever been involved when an athlete's tested positive in a product or heard them being interviewed where they just upon immediacy said, "Look, I did the wrong thing. I just want to step up and tell you, yeah, I got caught, and I'm gonna do a better job." Typically, what ends up happening is there's a lot of pointing either at their physician or their supplement or both, and quite often it's a supplement that gets pointed at. As just a kind of a frame of reference, from 2016 on, over 66 Olympic athletes and pro athletes have tested positive due to adulterated supplements alone. So we're looking at workout powders, vitamins, caffeine tablets, pre-workouts, energizers. The top three banned substances we're seeing are Osterine, DMBA, and hygenamine. So we're seeing that happen at an alarming rate. I'm just putting up here so you can see, this goes back to 2005, some of the headlines, and I won't dwell and read through all these because we don't have a ton of time, but you can see it's not just us as the industry saying that there's a problem. You can look through and see that it's a global problem. It's not just a US problem. You're seeing issues for Olympic athletes, for athletes in India, through EU, Asia, as well as North America. So you can look and see it's real. It's not just an invented issue that's out there. So when we look at that, what's the impact? Well, we know that it's global. The world is shrinking. It gets easier and easier. Back when we could get on airplanes and go places, we know how easy it is to be in foreign markets very quickly. Add to that that influencers are now becoming global, as it would be called outside of North America, football and the World Cup becomes a bigger influence. We have greater influencers from teams, athletes, events, and brands. They're not constrained by borders, as we have people throughout the EU watching our Super Bowl and beyond. Also, with the vast evolution of the internet, we like to think of the internet as something that's kind of always been there and present in our lives. But, flip phones are something that we were all using less than 10 years ago. And so when we look at apps and websites and global retailers, it actually is a pretty recent development. And that is only going to become more so. So athletes have greater accessibility to information and good and bad supplements. And if you don't even have to go far to find it. Look at the groups on Facebook. There's SARMS groups and other groups right on Facebook, on Reddit, and other places. And global retailers are able to, the bar it can be pretty low for supplements to get onto a website, and it's impossible to test everyone. So people can make radical claims, and who knows what's in there if the product has not been indeed screened and tested. Just to underscore the point, NSF has tripled in a decade, has tripled the amount of banned substances for which we test. And I believe, we see all of our lists growing on a rapid basis. That's not because we weren't catching up. It's because as soon as you find one, two more pop up, and with the evolution of banned substances in testing getting better, we're finding more, but also the cheaters are a step ahead. And so that's an important note. And another thing is that the global supply chain remains an unknown. There are a lot of bounces between the raw material extractor and supplier overseas and how it gets to the manufacturer in more advanced markets. And there's a lot of question marks on where the actual raw material is coming from, and a lot of opportunity for it to get tainted. We've found a number of cases where items have been tainted, and it shouldn't have been. We had a case where morphine was in a pre-workout, and nobody would ever taint morphine, a pre-workout with morphine intentionally. It'd be the worst workout you'd ever have. However, because we were able to track it back to the raw material supplier and bad cleaning validation. So it does happen. It is important. So all things to consider. So as we look forward, the professional and elite athletes are a highly drug tested population. They want a quick and easy way to recognize that something's safe to consume. And we can't imagine the pressure that's on them. I mean, I certainly can't. Nobody's ever paid me to compete. Chris, on the other hand, he's probably one of the few here, but they need to have a safer, quick way to recognize this is okay. I'm greenlit to take this product. Everybody involved has to work at it. It's not just us out banging the drum. It's everybody. Events, retailers, sports groups, leagues, anti-doping groups have to constantly and vigilantly preach the message so that consumers know that there are really good players out there, but they can't just blindly have faith that something's going to happen. They'd be good. It could be as simple as was mentioned, that the protein adulteration, that they're just getting something that simply doesn't have the protein level they're claiming, all the way up to something that's been spiked, with something really dangerous that could lead to, health issues, disqualification, or in a worst case scenario, some of the deaths that have occurred around some tainted supplements. So brands have to remain vigilant. We all have to participate in a legitimate certification program and call out the bad players to work together on that. Our approach at NSF is three-tiered. We start with our good manufacturing practices audit. Before a product is eligible to be certified by NSF, it has to be manufactured in a facility that we've audited to verify that it's compliant with the good manufacturing practices. To Chris's note, athletes want to know that what they're consuming is actually what's on the label. So we test it every year to make sure that we know that the active ingredients are what's claimed or what are actually in there. And then it goes through a rigorous banned substance test as well before it gets listed on our Certified for Sport app and website for athletes to be able to readily get that information and know what is available to them and what is certified. So we're constantly working with different associations, leagues, anti-doping groups, and organizations to make sure that we're seeing what's out there. We get things sent to us by those, but we're also monitoring the marketplace and looking for unusual ingredients so we can stay on top of that and make sure that our list grows and we're protecting athletes to the best of our ability. With that, I want to thank you for the opportunity to present, and I'll look forward to the Q&A session.